Hello YouTube friends, welcome back to my channel. James here, and today we're going to be talking about the recent kind of wild run for quantum computing stocks, what prompted it, and then we're going to talk about whether or not quantum computing stocks are worth buying in 2025. So all of this kind of frenzy started back in December when Google launched its or announced its quantum computer chip, which was called Willow. So the Willow chip, the example that Google gave that you can see from this Forbes story here. So it unveiled this quantum processor Willow. This chip represents a giant leap forward in the field based on its specs and capabilities. To give you an example of, I know a lot of people don't really understand exactly what quantum computing is, and quite frankly, I'm not an expert on it. Actually had to do some research on it before starting filming this video. I'm not going to explain it here. I'm not an expert. There's all kinds of explainer videos on YouTube on here, and I'll link to one in the description. But at the end of the day, the most important thing you need to know about quantum computing is that it allows computers to process information like unfathomably fast compared to today's supercomputer. So from this story here that Forbes had published, to put it in perspective, Willow's computational power is staggering. It can solve a complex calculation in under 5 minutes, taking the fastest classical supercomputer about 10 septillion years to complete. Yes, septillion, as in a 1 followed by 24 zeros. So it gives you an idea of kind of the scale of power that these computers could have. And there are some companies that are kind of on the cutting edge of all this. There's companies such as, I'll show you a couple here. So we have D-Wave Quantum. There's other ones. IonQ is another example of one that you can trade on, as well as Rigetti Computing, which is another one of the smaller cap ones. So you can see with IonQ there, they have a market cap now of about $8 billion. Rigetti is down around $2 billion, and then IonQ. So those are just some examples of the stocks. And if you look at these, if you look at these numbers down here, these are wildly volatile stocks right now. And every single piece of news that comes out kind of throws them around wildly. So, Rigetti, for example, is up 1,000% in the last year. But also year to date, it's down 30%. And the day-to-day jumping around of price of some of these is unbelievably nuts. And as I said, especially in weeks like this past week where there's tons of news coming out, they're going to jump around even more. So what kind of prompted the latest trading frenzy? You can see there's been big jumps since the announcement of the Willow chip, but there's also been a lot going on in the last week that is causing these stocks to jump around a ton. So we'll start with the man who sort of kicked it off first, and that is the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang, and he started this latest spate of volatility because he was speaking at CES recently and was asked about quantum computing. And as the CEO of Nvidia, this guy's obviously on the cutting edge of technology and computing. And he said at that show that he felt that quantum computing was probably not, years away from being a practical product, but more like decades away. Like we're talking 20 years. And that caused a huge sell-off of these quantum stocks, and it got dumped all the way down. Like Rigetti, for example, just as an example of the volatility. Today it's trading up near $11, and after Huang's comments, it was down near $6. So it really put a lot of doubt into some investors' minds of whether or not it's worth buying these small cap quantum stocks right away. Because if we're talking 20 years from now that this is going to be a viable product, people, especially nowadays, have really short attention spans, and a lot of retail investors who are going to be the people buying these stocks simply don't look on a 20-year timeline. Like if you're a serious long-term investor, yeah, you're looking at a 20-year timeline for stuff. But a lot of the trading on these stocks right now, small caps, are retail, are people trying to day trade and make a quick buck. And you know, if you want to invest in quantum computing, the question becomes, if it's 20 years away, do I want to wait that long? How much time do I have? And it got punished even more. It wasn't just Huang's comments, because another sort of tech titan, Mark Zuckerberg, also kind of backed Huang's view on quantum computing. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast recently. I'm sure you've seen some stuff in the news about other stuff he said in there about their community guidelines and COVID and all that sort of thing. But he was asked about Huang's comments, and he agreed that, he was saying that he's not really an expert, but he did agree that this technology was probably quite a ways off. So that tanked all the stocks. And then the stocks, as you can see here, sort of bounced back up after coming to a low of 6, like Rigetti, for example, just of one example. And then got a huge jump again, because coming out of the woodwork after these two guys spoke was Microsoft. And they lent some more credibility to the quantum computing space by saying that they were going to launch this program called 2025, the year to become quantum ready. And what this is they said that they're going to offer some prep and training and that sort of thing to help companies get ready for this sort of wave of quantum computing that's going to come at some point in the future. Now, when a company just as when Huang says, well, it's a far ways away, that's going to crush it. Microsoft says actually it's legit, so it pumps it. And that's sort of, I think, what we're going to be seeing a lot from these stocks for the foreseeable future. Like every piece of information that comes out, positive or negative, is really going to slam these stocks around quite a bit. Now, that goes back to the question, like, is it worth buying these stocks right now if it's far away, or if they're going to be this volatile for such a long time? And I think what it comes down to, the way I look at it anyway, is I feel like you can get some exposure to the space long term in a much simpler way, and that is by investing in companies like Google and like Microsoft. So yeah, the potential to get mega bucks rich if you invest in these small caps and they go nuts. I mean, just look at what happened with Nvidia. This is a company that went from kind of like a smaller chip maker to, I believe at some point they were the most valuable company in the world. Yeah, if you make a bet like that and it pays off, great. But that's extremely rare. Like if you look at Nvidia here, so we're talking like 2012, 2013, and this is after the stock split, worth 30 cents a share, and then 137 today. So if you're looking for these kinds of exponential gains, then yeah, you probably do have to take risks on smaller stocks. But if you want to get exposure to the space, just like when everybody was going nuts for AI stocks last year, the companies that are eventually going to work with this stuff and make acquisitions on this stuff and be leaders in the space, in my opinion, is likely to be the companies like Google with its Willow chip, like Microsoft, which is involved in all this stuff, probably like Nvidia, which will be able to make headway in the space just because these companies are so big and they have so many resources. And I own these companies anyway. I own Google, I own Microsoft. because the way I buy stocks is I buy stocks in companies that I use in my everyday life. And the great thing about that is you know when to sell, because if you stop using them, other people might stop using them. But that's just my approach. But in a way, sort of, I already have exposure to quantum computing by owning these huge blue chip companies that pay dividend stocks, or that pay dividends. So, and have the safety of having, not everything bet on quantum computing, but they have all these other kinds of revenue streams. Like Google owns YouTube, which you're watching right now, and Microsoft has, operating systems and software and all this stuff. So you do get some exposure through them to quantum computing without having to bet on these tiny, volatile, small cap stocks that are, could turn into something huge, or could have trouble as a going concern at some point, because I imagine that developing quantum computing is extremely expensive, and if there's no use cases in the current environment, it's kind of tough to generate the revenue needed to keep going. So again, everyone has to do their own research. Everybody has to look at what their investing goals are and what their timelines are. But to me, there's two ways to go about it. If you're really big on quantum computing, you want to take bigger risks, then maybe the small caps are for you. If you want to get exposure to the sector, but you don't want to really roll the dice that hard, there's lots of giant technology companies that are going to be on the cutting edge of this anyway, that are huge businesses that are fairly stable in terms of price and revenue and all that sort of thing. At the end of the day, though, everyone has to do their own research. I am not a financial advisor. I would suggest, if you don't know what you're doing, that you go talk to a financial advisor, and never invest with money you can't afford to lose, because nothing's guaranteed in life, especially if you're taking a flyer on small cap quantum computing stocks. And remember, trends come and go too. Like, I remember during the sort of COVID era, everyone was going nuts for 3D printing stocks. And, when's the last time you heard about people being excited about 3D printing stocks? So something to keep in mind. I think everybody kind of acknowledges that quantum computing is going to be the wave of the future. It's not going to be like 3D printing, where it's sort of an interesting aside. Quantum computing is going to be sort of at the center of everything that humanity does at some point. But again, we just don't know how long that's going to take, and it's something to consider as you look at your own investing goals and portfolios. So, folks, let me know in the comments, what's your approach to this space? Are you more of a make a bet that has a chance to pay off huge, or more of the slow and steady big tech investor? Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff if you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you again soon.